We have seen during the pandemic that the pharmaceutical industry has proved its mettle and also uh, kickstarted a paradigm shift in the way the pharmaceutical industry was viewed by government and other stakeholders. And the innovations both at home and across the globe have been successful in taking care of the pandemic, both in terms of vaccination as well as through medication. As we move into 2023, the global pharma is looking at a higher focus and need for innovation and medicine, which is targeted therapies, and also looking at various initiatives for collaboration and co-creation, convergence, and on areas especially related to research and development. So the most prominent trends as we go forward will be essentially with innovation and research and development taking the center stage. We have been talking to the government and are in continuous dialogue to build up a very strong innovation ecosystem in the country. This is in line with the clarion call given by the Honorable Prime Minister in the year 2021, which was on Jai Vigyan, and subsequently in 2022 on Jai Anusandhan. OPPI has been truly believes and would like to fulfill the Honorable Prime Minister's dream by creating and supporting the government and all other stakeholders for an innovation-based system, research and development system. We also foresee a lot more clinical trials probably taking place in the country as we move along. We also see the higher use of artificial intelligence in healthcare research, clinical trials, of course, as well as healthcare delivery. We also see the telemedicine actually picking up in the years to come, and with a lot more focus happening on digital health. There are going to be areas where we would need a lot more collaborations and partnerships. I think access is going to be a major focal point for the leaders, both in terms of being able to reach out to the last mile delivery of healthcare and creating a robust infrastructure and ecosystem to enable that. And we see the focus also coming in again from the access standpoint in terms of bringing in innovative therapies and targeted medicine to the patients. The leaders will continue to, I think, focus on bringing in innovation in terms of the new molecules which our member companies continue to bring to the country, and would definitely like to work as what we do plan to work on creating that ecosystem for research and development. Just to give you an example, we are working very closely with NIPERs now, starting with NIPER Mohali, followed by NIPER Hyderabad, to create such partnerships on the research which can bring a lot of value to the country and, of course, the entire healthcare ecosystem, and through India to the globe. So I think data analytics is going to help in a big way so far as research is concerned, and it'll definitely make the the readings and the outcomes, in fact, of all these data analytics lot more robust. We will also see a lot of AI being used for data collection, and also as we go along for the clinical trials. So we're going to see a lot of AI being utilized being leveraged for the use of clinical trials and research and development. I think for the smaller companies, there is still a journey which they have to cover, but we are definitely seeing a trend, and the government and the industry's focus on digitization. And we are also aware that in the G20 presidency within healthcare, I mean, there is a lot of talk on digital health. So QR codes is definitely a very welcome step, and we really see this as a positive so far as the industry, government, as well as the patients are concerned. In terms of traceability, it brings in a lot of transparency when it comes to having QR codes on the products. And as you said, apart from the counterfeits, which is, I think, a very, very big advantage, which is in the hands of the patients, of the consumers, the QR codes will also help in streamlining the supply chains. As in terms of bringing in visibility of the product availability, inventories, as well as the movement of the products right down to the last mile. So I think it brings in a lot of advantages, both for the government on one side in terms of creating more predictability in terms of access to medicine and availability of medicine, which was definitely a cause of concern if you recall the early pandemic days. And also, on the other hand, the industry will be able to kind of streamline its supply chain processes in tandem with other manufacturers as well as the requirements of the government. So, so far as UCPMP is concerned, we see this as a self-regulation more than anything else through the OPPI code. So the OPPI code is typically very well integrating not only the UCPMP and MCI guidelines in the IFPMA code. That's how we have derived the OPPI code. Our member companies are strictly following that, and they sign the code before they become a part of the OPPI group. And it definitely does regulate the behavior of the pharma companies in a positive manner. The only thing which we feel is that bringing in a little more specificity and clarity on the UCPMP guidelines and making it in tandem with the MCI guidelines could help, which definitely does exist already in our OPPI code, but that can actually bring in a lot of, having a complete alignment between the UCPMP and our code, OPPI code. We also feel that going forward, the UCPMP code should be something which should take care of the imparting of knowledge and understanding for the HCPs, especially on new therapies and new drug areas, which is very, very important. Considering the fact that a lot of our member companies work in that area, it's very important that we are able to have sufficient room within the guidelines, and of course with specificity, to bring in the knowledge and the expertise which is required to the HCPs on those therapeutic areas. So the Drugs and Medical Devices Act defines, and so do the rules of the Act, definite principles of good manufacturing practices, which are typically the GMP or the Schedule M. And it's really important for the manufacturers to upgrade themselves to the Schedule M first and then go on to the WHO GMP. That's very, very critical so far as the quality of the products are concerned, which definitely remains a concern area as we actually look at how the Indian pharmaceutical industry needs to graduate to a more global level. We would also like to see more enablement so far as WHO GMP implementation in the manufacturing of a lot of manufacturers is concerned, in terms of providing financing facilities as well as loans, while we also think there is a lot of expertise and knowledge which needs to be transferred to these manufacturing units of the gains what So if you look at the OTC landscape, we are looking at approximately a CAGR of about 9.2% there. However, we need to look at why would the over-the-counter drug sales go up. So it could either be because of reasonably high level of understanding and education being there with the patients, which is driving up the growth. Alternately, there could be a crisis, which is actually driving the self-medication amongst the patients. So in view of that, it is important for us to kind of look at creating the OTC policy, like even countries like China have, which we need to dwell upon. There has been a listing of about 16 drugs which has taken place in terms of the draft rules for, within the Act which have been talked about. But it's time for us to take it to the next level, considering self-care will bring in a lot of benefits, in terms of a lesser doctor-patient load, which is currently very, very high, bringing in a better healthcare delivery system. So there has to be a mechanism wherein the companies can actually impart that information and knowledge on responsible use of those medicines when they go into self-care. We are also working with the Global Self-Care Foundation to bring in the international best practices on the OTC front in India. So I think the answer to this more lies with the economic handling of the issues, because currently we need to have probably a far more predictable and robust supply chain and trade policies, which can actually bring in a little more predictability and moderation in the inflationary measures. And that alone, I feel, can kind of take care of, all these inflationary pressures and rising costs are bringing in a lot of unpredictability again at the same time. So those are the areas which need to be looked at a more macroeconomic level to tackle the inflationary pressures. So very interesting, So uh, uh, I think VUCA couldn't be more prominent in any other sector as it is today in the pharma. It used to be IT probably at some point of time, but I think the access and innovation, these are the two basic guiding principles, if I can call them so, for any of the pharmaceutical leaders globally. And creating access would be more to do with on one side, bringing in the last mile delivery, and also creating a very robust healthcare delivery system in the semi-urban and even the rural areas. On the other hand, access also, when focused on within the pharmaceutical industry, is on gene therapies and certain innovative targeted medicines, and tackling of rare diseases on the other hand. So the focus for the pharmaceutical leaders in terms of access is derived out of these two areas. And on the innovation side, I think it is the investments which need to go into the R&D space, both in terms of infrastructure, not both, in fact, four areas I see very clearly: infrastructure, financing, creating a very strong IP regime, and of course also building up the human talent, the human resources, to be able to take a lead in the innovation space. And that's where I think the volume to value based offerings need to change so far as India is concerned.